Hello, class. Today our subject or topic is order of operations. So our essential question is, how do I apply order of operations? Okay, the learning intention. I am learning what the order of operations is and how to apply the rules. So the first thing we're going to look at is what is order of operations? Think back to when you first heard of it. When you think order of operations, what do you think? If you said PEMDAS, you would be right. If you said, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you would also be right. So, what is PEMDAS? What is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally? Well, those are the rules that we use to solve problems. It tells us in which order do we do the operations. Okay, we always have to have rules. If we didn't have rules, then people could solve problems in different orders, and no one could get the same answer all the time because they wouldn't know whether they needed to add first, subtract, multiply, divide, use the exponents, parentheses. So when we're talking about rules, it's just like the rules of the road you have to follow. You've got to follow these for your math. So the first one is please. The P stands for what? If you said parentheses, you would be right. So, P, PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. E stands for exponents. Okay, PE. M, multiplication. D, division. Okay, let's stop and think. Which do you think is more important, multiplying or dividing? I didn't say which one was easier. Which one has the higher rank? If you said neither, you would be correct. When we're using our rules, the rule states that multiplication and division are equal. You're going to do whichever one comes first in the equation. Okay, that leaves us with AS. AS stands for add and subtract. Okay, what do you think? Which one's more important, adding or subtracting? If you said neither, because we just had this example and you could look at it, you would be correct. You're going to do whichever one comes first in the equation. So, PIMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, are both ways to remember. They're acronyms that you use to help you remember which operation we do first. And as you look at this, there's really only 4 things we can do, 4 operations we do in math. Add, subtract, multiply, or divide. Everything is based off of those 4 operations. So what does order of operations actually mean? It tells us the order in which we solve a problem. In other words, the order in which we use the mathematical operations. Okay, any questions? So we're talking about rules. How do we do this? What order do we go in? So we always start off with a fairly easy question. If you're looking at this question here, we've got adding and we've got subtracting. So which one will we do first? Whichever one comes first in the equation. As we're looking, it is obvious that the plus comes first. So we will add 12 plus 8. 12 plus 8 is 20, minus 3, and we get 17. So that the correct answer for that would be 17. Any questions? Okay, like a good teacher, you make the next question a little bit harder. Why is the next question harder? Well, we've thrown a negative number in. We are adding and we're subtracting. Once again, we will start with our addition. It comes first. -5 plus 4. If you think of a number line, you're down at -5, you go 4 units towards 0, you end up at -1. Okay, -1 minus 1 gives you 2, and it's a -2. Okay, any questions? Okay, how did we get that -1? When we took -5 plus 4, how did we get -1? If you are combining, if you are adding together a positive and a negative number, what do? Well, you actually subtract. And then you keep the symbol of the larger base. Okay, in other words, when you're looking at this, -5 plus 4, your thought process becomes 5 minus 4 equals 1. Then I look and say, okay, which base is bigger, 5 or 4? It is 5. So I bring that negative sign down to the 1 and I'm done. So when you are combining with addition and a positive and negative number, you subtract and keep the symbol of the larger base. Next, we're looking again. We've got 4 plus 2 times 7 minus 9. Well, 2 times 7 will come first because multiplication comes before addition or subtraction. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. MD comes before AS. So while I'm looking at this, nothing's going to change to here, so I rapidly write this down again. 4 plus 2 times 7 is 14, minus 9 equals. Okay, once again, you've got addition and subtraction. Which are you going to do first? Whichever one comes first. 4 plus 14 is 18. Minus 9 leaves you with 9. Okay, pause the video and see if you can do the next one on your own, and then check your answer. So pause this video now. I hope you tried it on your own as we look through add, subtract, divide. We know that division happens before adding or subtracting. So this time, I can actually rewrite clear to here before I stop. 8 plus 4 minus. Now I have to stop. 12 divided by 3 is 4 equals. Okay, before we go any further, look at that equation. What do you notice? If you said that you've got plus 4 minus 4, then you notice that we have opposites. When we add opposites together, we get 0. So if I take and add 4 and then subtract 4, I'm just undoing what I just did. So this would actually be 8 plus 0, which would give me 8. Could I have done it the other way? Of course. 8 plus 4 minus 4 equals. This time I start with the 8 plus 4. 8 plus 4 is 12. Minus 4 is equal to 8. And I'm back where I started. I got the same answer both times. Okay, going to the next one. 2 times the quantity of 3 minus 9 plus 5 times the quantity of 3 plus 2 equals. According to order of operations, I do what first? P stands for parentheses. Yes, I've got 2 sets of parentheses to deal with first. Okay, if I had a variable in there, I would not be able to combine, and then you would have to use distribution. But because everything is numbers, we don't have to worry about that. Two, 3 minus 9. Remember up here, they're different, opposite signs, so I'm going to subtract and keep the symbol of the larger base. 9 minus 3 is 6. The larger base is 9, which has a negative sign, and I'm done. Plus 5 times 3 plus 2 is 5 equals. Okay, next step, we will be multiplying. 2 times negative 6 is negative 12, plus 5 times 5 is 25. When I was in grade school, way back when, I would have 25 minus 12. I'd write it one over the other. 5 minus 2 is 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. So the answer is 13. Is that the only way to do it? No, there's a lot of different ways we could do it. Let's think about the fact that addition is commutative. Commutative means that order does not matter. So I could easily change this to 25 plus negative 12. Okay, I want to make my life easier. So negative 12 is not the easiest thing to add, to subtract. So how can I break it up to where I'll have one number that's really easy to subtract? Negative 12 is what plus what? Well, I know that 1 is easy to subtract, but then I'd be also subtracting 11. 11, not so good. Okay, so I'm not going to do 1 and 11. Let's look at 2 and 10. Subtracting 10 is quite easy most of the time. 25 minus 10 minus 2. Now it's become easier. 25 minus 10 is 15. Minus 2 is 13. Okay, that was, most of you could have done that in your head, and that's great. But this is working on different concepts on how to solve. Okay, so for the last problem, what do you notice about the last two problems? Yeah, if you said they look alike except for the exponents, you would be correct. So I did that on purpose so we did not have to do what was in parentheses. But the first thing we do to start off is your parentheses. Your parentheses will then be followed by your exponents. So it is 2 times negative 6 squared plus 5 times 5 squared. Now we're ready to deal with the exponents. Two times negative 6 times negative 6, positive 36. 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, 2 times 36 is not very easy to do in your head for most of us unless we break it down. How shall we break it down? 36 is what plus what? Two times 30 plus 6. Okay, so if we distribute here, 2 times 30 plus 2 times 6. 2 times 30 is 60. 2 times 6 is 12. 60 plus 12 is 72. Okay, whenever I see something like 25, I think 25 cents. 25 is what? What kind of a coin is 25 pennies? A quarter. Okay. If I have 5 quarters, how much money do I have? $1.25. 125. Okay, and once again, I would probably put one over the other. So 5 plus 2 is 7. 2 plus 7 is 9. Bring down the 1, and we are done. How else could it be done? Okay, we can break it up just like we did over here, where we took the 30 plus 6. That was 36. So if I'm looking at 72, that is 70 plus 2. 125 is 120 plus 5. If I rearrange, 70 plus 120 plus 2 plus 5 equals 70 plus 120 is 190. 2 plus 5 is 7. And we're done. So how are you going to do it? That depends on how your brain processes. Whichever way makes the most sense to you, you're going to do. It's always good to know more than one way to be able to solve a problem. Okay, so your success criteria. I know I'm successful when I can solve problems using order of operations. In Cornell notes, your summary is very important. So I'm looking at this, thinking order of operations. How can I condense that down into 1 or 2 sentences? Well, I would probably write down PIM, DOS. Okay, but what did I learn today that might stick in my brain? Well, I learned that the M and the D are the same, and the A and the S are the same value. So I will do whatever I need to do first, whichever comes first in my equation. So hopefully you can go back and look at this again. If you're still having trouble, get your practice done, please.